Listen.
Welcome to the DotCast from NineDots, the online learning community for wedding photographers. If you want to find out about our online training content or our annual conference in London, the NineDots Gathering, head over to nine-dots.co. Welcome one and all to this episode of the DotCast. I'm Adam Johnson, one of the co-founders of NineDots, along with Andy Gaines and Rahul Khona. In this series of DotCast episodes, I'm chatting to some of the photographers from in and around the amazing NineDots community about their work and businesses. And in today's episode, I caught up with Elle Co and Ben Winnington, who go by the brand Winnington & Co. They're based just outside of Birmingham here in the UK. Elle and Ben are a couple. She studied photography at uni and hated it, while he was and still is a successful musician with his band Max Raptor. Somehow, and I will ask them about this during the episode, this led them to weddings, where Elle is a photographer and Ben is a videographer. Their work also led them to winning the Best Newcomer title at the Wedding Industry Awards in 2019, which we'll talk about during the episode. Look out also for Ben describing himself as a broad-shouldered armadillo, and why. Any comments or suggestions for the DotCast, or if you want to ask a question which we'll answer during a future episode, drop us a message on Instagram or Facebook, just search for NineDots, or you can email us hello@nine-dots.co. Enjoy the episode and take it easy. Knowing me, Adam Johnson, knowing you, Ben Winnington and Elle Co. Aha.
Hi.
You didn't say aha.
Oh,
Should we do it again? No, we get the reference.
Oh,
I
didn't get it at the first time. I was like, okay, that's a weird thing to say. But yeah, no, I understand now. Got it, yeah. Go for it.
No, I'm not going. I decided that's what I'm going to do at the beginning. I'm just going to see how people react to it, because I'm going to be definitely speaking to people who don't have any clue what I'm talking about when I do that. And then somehow...
I didn't, but now I understand.
I thought that was your kind of comedy as well.
I think it's my kind of comedy. I think Elle takes the piss out of it being my kind of comedy. So there you go.
Fair play. I did see your smirk when you smirked when I said it, so I felt like it was being appreciated.
Yeah, I'm not that much younger than you, mate.
Well, it's nice to have you on the DotCast, series 2 of the DotCast. Welcome. First question: have you ever listened to the DotCast?
Yes,
yeah,
both of us have. Yeah.
Are you podcast listeners in general?
Ben is definitely more than I am.
Enormously,
because I have a thing where I will just fall asleep if I hear people talking.
Yeah, I'm pretty not non-stop, but I think they're a very, very valuable thing to have around when you've got other stuff to sort of do, like the washing up or maybe more important stuff.
Important stuff, yeah.
Or if Ben does want me to go to sleep on a car journey,
that works
he will literally just put one on, and then within 2 seconds, I'm like...
I think there's a lot to be said for being able to get in behind stuff a little bit and kind of hear people's creative processes and stuff. So I've enjoyed doing that.
Right, let's, we're here to, this is a wedding photography related podcast, and Ben, you're not even a wedding photographer, you're a wedding videographer, and are you happy with that term?
Yeah.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Why would you not be happy with it?
I don't know what else there is. What are the other options?
Well, people these days, they call themselves all sorts of things.
Filmmaker.
I have a question for you, actually, mate, because I get caught up with this occasionally. I get called videographer and videographer. Now, I think the latter's fine, but I don't get where people get the extra O from.
No, it's a funny one, isn't it?
Videographer.
That would make us photographers, wouldn't it, as well?
Well, it's insane. It makes no sense. Yeah, my old boss used to call me that, and it used to make me want to spit every time she said it. Videographer. Why are you adding a syllable?
Yeah.
You've lost it.
No.
Mate, I don't have the answer, and I don't know if we've got long enough to come up with an answer.
So you and I agree. That's important.
Yeah, we do. I mean, everybody should agree, because one is wrong and one is correct.
That's right.
So have you always been a videographer, or have you ever been a photographer?
I have never ever felt like a photographer. I think I second shoot for Elle, but in a way that she sort of shames me afterwards.
I get so cross after.
Yeah, no, I
first. Who were you a videographer before Elle was a photographer, or was Elle a photographer first?
So I went to university to do photography, but absolutely hated it at uni, and then came out and decided to give it a go and kind of learned from there. But Ben sort of dabbled in video, didn't you, when you were on tour?
Yeah, we didn't have a lot to do, and we were going out in like Germany and Switzerland, and literally we would get somewhere and then have 8 hours to do nothing, and we were in these beautiful places. So I just threw a Panasonic on a credit card and took that away with me, and sort of learned to do it like that, which was quite good really, because it teaches you very quickly how not to screw stuff up. So yeah, no, it's good. But no, not a photographer. Definitely someone that's better with moving pictures.
And no, not really, because seem to find that if you, whichever side of the fence you sit on, photo or video, you've not really got any real passion for the other side.
I think that is weirdly true. I think both of us would agree that there's a fairly strong line between the two of us. Although, to be honest, I prefer editing stuff anyway, and so would be happy to just not go out with a camera. But yeah, I definitely prefer the video stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, we sometimes help each other out, don't we? So if you have got a job where it's a really big wedding, or if they've suggested that they would like two videographers and I'm not doing anything, then I'll go and video with him. But I find video really restrictive, whereas Ben finds taking photos really restrictive. And I come away and I'm like, oh, it's really annoying that I can't move quickly with the video camera because I've got this big thing on the end of it. And I find that really annoying, whereas Ben thinks the opposite. And it's really strange.
The opposite in so much that you like this kind of stillness and more thoughtful approach to making videos than the frantic approach of making pictures.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you like the so you always said that you think that video gets a better emotional reaction at the end of it.
Well, I think the videography people are lucky in that they can marry stuff up to music. Obviously, you guys do it for slideshows and stuff, but I do think the fact that you've got two senses to aim at just makes stuff, it's a bit easier to kind of push the emotional buttons, isn't it?
In a long way, you've said yes, that one of you is not passionate about not photos, the other one's passionate about photos, not videos. But like, why are you a wedding photo and video team? Like, why did you choose to get into weddings?
Yes.
Weddings chose us.
Yeah, I don't think we didn't really. So when I came out of uni, hated photography. And even though I'd done it for 3 years, I was like, nah, if I never pick up a camera again, I'll be cool. Like, that's fine by me. And then I just wanted to go into retail management and be really boring, and because that was all I really knew. And then had a baby. And then during maternity leave, needed a bit of extra cash, and somebody was like, oh, we've got a school fete coming up, can you do some photo booth stuff? Just buy some props and just take some pictures of the kids with like moustaches and stuff. So we did that, and it was really popular. And then somebody at the fete was like, oh, can you come and do a party of mine? So we were like, oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. So the photo booth thing kind of came first, and through that we kind of got into the wedding circuit a little bit. And then someone who had got us to do their photo booth was like, well, we can't really afford like a full photographer, so can you just take some pictures? And so I sort of went, oh, okay, kind of don't really want to, but we did. And then put those on Facebook, and it kind of snowballed. So I don't think I really chose it. I think it just, people just asked for it.
Yeah, I think it would be remiss of us not to say that we were doing the booth and kind of realised that the people turning up with just cameras as opposed to a backdrop and a load of props were earning more.
Yeah.
Like, we were hip to that pretty early on.
Yeah, it was almost like...
definitely was a catalyst in the decision, I think.
Yeah, the photo booth took so much energy and effort and so much lugging of tons of stuff around. And we were like, oh God, we're getting like 200 quid or 300 quid for doing this. and it was just like, oh God, this is just so much. I think
hard work. Most of it was because we were dealing with drunk people so much, and we kind of got fed up with that. And particularly as you being female had it worse, I think.
Yeah.
Not that you sometimes don't get it worse as a photographer, but the booze stuff is specifically aimed at people who are hammered drunk.
Who want to make fools of themselves, who are quite happy to show their bums and their boobs and yada, yada, yada.
I don't remember that happening.
Yeah, it definitely did.
Oh.
Jess and Garby's wedding, we had some bums and boobs.
Oh, okay. Let's have a look back through those at some point. Yeah, it's. I think that was the two things that catalyzed the whole thing with pregnancy, and then the booth thing versus the actual photography thing.
Yeah,
and I think you found it pretty enjoyable as well.
Yeah, it was really weird because the first wedding that I came back from, I was really nervous and did the wedding, and essentially was just having a nervous breakdown the entire day, just like sweating, shaking, really nervous the whole day. And I got home and I was like, oh, they're actually okay. Like, there's some really nice ones. And I kept on showing Ben the back of my camera, like, look at this one. This one's actually okay. And then, so you kind of gain a little bit of faith in yourself, don't you? The more that you do it, you sort of think, oh, I could do this.
And it is an attractive business as well. Like Ben alluded to it before. It is I think anybody that does wedding photography and doesn't say that the business element of it and the ability to earn money from it is a big part of the decision to do it. And
Oh yeah,
keep doing
massively.
it. Yeah, but you must enjoy it. Like, I don't think it's the kind of job you can do, photo or video, if you don't enjoy it in some way.
Yeah, I never ever thought I would. And at university, it was almost like the joke. It was like the butt of the joke. You know, everyone was like a really artsy fartsy photographer and they were like, oh, you can do weddings. And it was like, it was considered a really nerdy thing to do. And actually, having been in the business for a couple of years now, I love it. It's not at all how I perceived it before getting into it at all. And yeah, I really enjoy it. And I actually haven't yet got bored of weddings.
It's been difficult to get bored of weddings this year.
This year, yeah, it has. But last year, we had some absolutely amazing
absolutely.
weddings. We had some really, really good days. And I do really enjoy it, yeah.
How many do you tend to do together? Where you're doing photo and video at the same wedding?
As many as possible.
Last year we probably did about 15 or something like that, I guess.
Yeah. It's there's not very many that I do on my own. No,
I think we're obviously not completely unique, but I do think we are able to suggest to people that having people that kind of know each other's sort of machinations for the whole day, and to be honest, people that can just tell each other to fuck off out of the way if we disagree with each other, is probably better than having like a different videographer and photographer stand on ceremony with each other.
Yeah, that'll help.
Yeah, I think I have only worked with 2 other videographers other than you, and it has been strange.
Yeah,
because we have like
I mean, it obviously isn't a significant issue, but I do. This isn't like sales bullshit. I actually think it does help for the 2 of us to know the way the other one works.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and also I think you kind of joking apart, I think you're dead right that being able to be frank with each other and say you're in my way or whatever, and not worry about hurting the other one's feelings. It's going to be helpful. But do you find, Elle, that you get booked first for photography and then they ask you for video recommendations and then you recommend Ben?
Yeah, 100%. No, it's not even that they ask video for video recommendations. So we first of all try and get them to, book both of us sort of from the offset anyway. And most of the time we'll actually just say, "No, we're good. We just want photo." And then it can be anything from like up until a month before, and they'll ring us and they'll go, "Oh, we've got a bit left over in our budget. Can we also have Ben? Like, is Ben available as well?" So it definitely comes later down the line in the booking process that they will latch on and they'll ask Ben to do the video as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Almost all the time, I would say.
An awful lot of it.
Yeah. It's much later.
And what about you, Ben? What's your enjoyment level of weddings?
I think they're wicked in that they're testing, which I think is good. I think that's always a good thing to have in any job where it kind of properly keeps you on your toes. And I've heard it a few times described as the kind of peak amalgamation of photography, in that you've got like portraiture, you've got product photography, and you've got, I suppose, some landscape stuff even in there. And, I think the fact that applies to the video stuff as well. And it just, I think it keeps you fresh. And yeah, I like that side of it. I also, without wishing to sound tremendously weird, quite like it knowing that we've managed to get an emotional reaction off the brides. I was going to say knowing that we've made people cry there. But you know what I mean?
It's always the end, though, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think trying to properly eke something out of that day where there's a storyline and, you make people feel something again. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. So you mentioned before about this year, obviously, we've not had weddings, really. Has that made you appreciate them more?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, undoubtedly.
I looked back through some of the slideshows that, just for new couples that are booking, just to send them little example slideshows and stuff. And I was looking back through some and I was like, oh, I miss it. It's actually, it is really enjoyable. And it's also nice because we've got Luna. It's nice for us to have those days out where we don't have a 5-year-old going, can we do this? Can we do this? And it's nice actually that we have some time. It's always time together, isn't it? Even though we're working, but it is. It's I like that. And I like that we do it together. And I
think the other thing, and this is entirely selfish from our point of view, is that when you're kind of on an upwards trajectory with stuff. And that means the business itself, but also our work, like, because we're still relatively early in things, there's been a fairly marked improvement in the work that we do for the last kind of 3 or 4 years. And to all of a sudden have that come to a halt is
a bit gutting.
Shit, really.
Yeah, really gutting. This year was going to be, we were really looking forward to this year because it was going to be a big year for us. We'd got some really cool weddings coming up, and we'd got a really full diary, and money wise it was going to be pretty good. Like you said before, it's a good industry to be in. So for us, this year was a really exciting year. And then at the start, when it was all kind of like the carpet was pulled out from underneath you, it was really gutting.
Yeah, but as everyone else has had to do, you
get used to it. And
I think that's the thing, though. I've talked on here before about how it is the kind of industry where it can, every so often you can feel a little bit jaded and maybe not appreciate it as much as other times. And I definitely feel after this year that I appreciate the job more and appreciate, having the choice to do it a lot more. So I'm going to try and talk myself out of that jaded feeling when it creeps up. But that's good. It's good. So topically, I mean, you talked about that upward trajectory. Let's go trajectory. That's quite difficult to say. That you've been on the last few years, because how long have you guys actually been officially wedding photo video team?
3.5 years, something like that.
Yeah, not very long really at all.
And then obviously 2 years ago that you won Best Newcomer at the Wedding Industry Awards?
Yeah, that was at the beginning of last year for the year before.
Yeah, it was, the 2018 award, wasn't it, I think?
I don't even know. That's really bad.
No, you won it in February. No, January 2019, because we got no money because we paid your tax bill. And so
this is boring for other people listening now, Ben.
Right, but I'm just dating it. No, it's not. It's interesting because you found out that you won from Twitter, sat on the sofa doing nothing because we couldn't afford to go to the bloody awards.
Yeah,
how is that not? That's interesting.
Yeah. We were sat at home. We got no booze in the house at all because it was just the middle of the week. We couldn't afford to go to the ceremony, and then Ben went, "By the way, you won." I was like, "Oh no, I wish I was there." Yeah, so that was a shame. But yeah.
Well, good work on that. So just to talk about that was obviously that would have been a nice thing to win.
It was very unexpected as well. It was really nice.
And but knowing you the small amount that I do, in a way, it kind of surprises me that you would go in for something like that for the kind of recognition side of it, because it doesn't seem like you're the kind of artist, photographer, whatever, that really cares all that much what other people think. So why do it?
I can't see that impression.
I'm just going to chime in here and say I thought exactly the same.
No, it seems like you're quite comfortable with the way that with your approach, the way that you do it, and the kind of work that you make most of the time, and things like that.
You mean stubborn? It sounds like you want to say stubborn.
That was so loaded, Adam.
No, but just things like that is sometimes people go into it for the wrong kind of reasons. Is what I'm getting at. There are good and valid reasons to go in for things like that, but just you don't strike me as the kind of person that would go in for something like that. So why did you choose to?
I don't know.
Big question.
So I'll be totally honest here. So I went in for it. It was the first year that they were going to do the Newcomer Award, and I just really thought that we had a shot. And I know what customers think when they see that badge. If you have that on your website, and I think at the time as well, I was trying to get into loads of blogs and stuff just to make it look like, even though we'd only been doing it for a year and a bit, I wanted it to look like to potential customers who do give a damn about that kind of thing, that we knew what we were talking about, even though we really didn't and still don't.
I think you want to say that bit out loud.
But yeah, well, we don't. We don't. We really don't.
Nobody does.
Nobody does. But if you're a bride and they know jaff all about the whole thing, they go, "Oh, they were regional finalists for the whole of the country,"
and they did. Literally,
yeah, they literally did. It was mad. It was absolutely crazy. So we won, and it wasn't even the day after. It was the day.
Yeah,
do you remember? We had when they announced it on Twitter, we had several inquiries like within the hour of people going, "Oh, I see you won," and it was like, "What are you doing? Like up at night following the."
When we weren't doing it.
Yeah, we weren't doing it, and we were in for the award, and yeah, that was crazy. The next day, I fully, hand on heart, honestly, did not expect a very big reaction immediately. I thought it would help our business in the long run to have the badge on the website, and people would kind of like generally kind of flock to the website, and it might sway persuade them a little bit if they saw that we'd won an award. But genuinely, the day after, the emails were crazy, and I didn't think that was going to happen.
Obviously, I've entered a lot of these things over the years. Like, I think a good reason to enter them is for the good of your business and for marketing and to appeal to brides, and so you can charge a bit more money and all that kind of thing. And obviously, the bad reasons is to be seen as the best and to put yourself on some kind of pedestal amongst your peers and all the rest of it. So I think they're bad reasons.
Yeah. I think it genuinely was that I thought the brides would see it and go, "Ooh."
I think it's worth mentioning that I was on her shoulder being profoundly cynical about it.
Yeah,
all the way through. And but for that night when people started getting in touch, I don't think I was massively able to see the value of it. And there was some, and I was wrong. But yeah, I think there was a balance from our end of one person that thought it was a good idea for the right reasons, and someone who just wasn't into it at all. So, yeah.
But it's good, though. It's good. I mean, it's good that
it's good. Yeah.
Coming at it from a point of obviously feeling really good about your own work at that time, and feeling really good about your services that you were giving, and entering it for those reasons, and then using it for marketing, to me is the perfect reasons to enter it and the perfect way to use it. So, correct answer, well done. If I had like a correct answer bell, that I feel like I would hit it right now.
Luna does this thing when she asks us a question and she just goes, "Correct."
Yeah.
So that's kind of all the things that we've talked about, why you do weddings and the things that you like about it. What do you not like about being involved in the wedding industry?
I think it's a bizarre kind of feedback thing. It is different to most other artistic pursuits in that you don't tend to get constructive feedback of any form, really, very often, or certainly I don't. And very often it goes back to a bride and you don't hear a lot afterwards. It's just weird. It's very, very different to the way most other forms of photography or videography would exist, in that you have other people that chime in as part of a team and you eventually have to make changes and all that sort of stuff. And in a sense, that's great because a lot of the time it's almost entirely off your own back, but also it's sometimes a bit strange and sometimes leaves a bit of a kind of void at the end of it when you don't hear a lot back, is the only thing I would say.
It's good. That's a positive negative. That's very different.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think that applies more for videography.
Yeah, possibly. I think, because I've done other stuff for like companies where you're expecting feedback and you're used to getting a proper loop of what's going on and all that sort of thing. I just think it's a strange thing, but it's not, like you said, it's not necessarily a negative. And for me, I think
it's definitely a thing though. I think, while Elle's thinking, Elle looks thoughtful. Elle looks like she's not thought of her answer yet, so we'll carry on talking.
I have. I've got about 10 different things that I could say, and I'm trying to like go through in my head and go, which one is the most valuable thing to say?
Right, we'll narrow it down while I give my opinion. So I think that it's a really easy industry to please your clients in, and that just to kind of, this follows on from what you're saying, Ben, is like the clients, in this case bride and grooms, will always be happy with what we produce, really, on the whole, because we are the professional image makers and filmmakers at their weddings, the only ones, and it's their weddings. So, and I think we talked about this before a little bit, Elle. Like, I think they'll always be happy, but we can't be happy with just making them happy with that kind of baseline of making the kind of product that just makes the bride and groom happy, because then, I don't personally believe we have to do all that much to just have happy clients. So but I agree with you, and it must help with you two, obviously, being together, in that you don't blow smoke up each other's asses, and you will tell each other what you really think of each other's work, and you have got that kind of sounding board that a lot of people don't have, that honest sounding board, maybe a little bit too honest at times, maybe.
I think I'd be lost without that, genuinely.
I think I give you more feedback than you give me.
Yeah, I've got quite broad shoulders now, like an armadillo.
You need it.
Yeah,
I think I'm
I do think that's important.
Than you, maybe.
Yeah, but maybe not more opinionated, just maybe less able to bite your tongue, less of a diplomat.
Again, I still reckon of all the people I ask these kind of questions to, I think you've given them the most positive negative answer. But I reckon Elle's has got something good here. So go on. What do you not like about what?
I love working with people. I've always really liked working with people, and I love different personalities. But I think because I'm quite stubborn, as we've already said, I think sometimes I don't always like the way that maybe other people don't appreciate the process. So people will try and barter with you about stuff. We're still in quite the early stages of our business, and so you've still got, like, we're still a bit like, oh, okay, if you want a bit of a discount, maybe we will do. And I hate that. I want to be able to kind of have a business where people understand why it's the price that it is. And
so, but do you think that is going to get worse as maybe professional photography is less appreciated as phones and things get better?
I'm not convinced that the camera phone thing would affect people not choosing to have a photographer for their wedding.
I agree. I'm only bringing it up to try and to have a conversation about it, because I heard quite a good
and it's worked.
Yeah, I heard a really good saying once. I was at a talk, photographer called Patrick LaRock, and he said, because he was basically moaning about the fact that photographers moan about this stuff, like use it as an excuse of why their business is not going well or whatever.
No, I don't agree.
And he said everybody the party line is, well, now everyone's got a camera, like everyone's a photographer, and he said everyone's got a pencil, but not everyone is a best-selling author. And I thought that was
so poetic, isn't
very
it?
poetic. Yeah.
How good is that? But there's truth in it. There's definite truth in it. And I don't think as photographers, videographers, whatever, we just have to get better at our craft so that it's less easy for those people to think they're able to do it with phones or, all the rest of it. That's good. So the other day, we were having a conversation about wedding photography and its long-term value.
Yeah.
You remember this?
I do.
And I threw in the line that 99% of wedding photography is disposable long-term. And you had a problem with me saying that.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
And the reason, and where I was coming from with that was that I think that over time, couples' wedding photos boil down to that, maybe that one or two pictures that end up in a frame in the house, or maybe they've got one on the wall, or maybe even, to bring the figure down from 99%, maybe they've got like 50, 60, 70 in a book or an album somewhere. I don't think, we're handing over 5, 6, 7, 8, 900 pictures plus. I genuinely don't think that a lot of those will stand the test of time beyond those handful. So that was where my 99%, and you had a major issue with that the other day because you don't believe that, do you?
I tend to agree with Adam, is that it will distill itself down to 4 or 5 physical things, potentially even 60 in a
4 or 5.
You hate this, but this is the point. This is the point of me asking you, because you hate this idea, don't you? Because so part of it, what goes into it is, and part of the conversation we were having is that a lot of photographers, and me included, and a lot of people, a lot of the pictures we take are just for our own amusement. The types of pictures we take at weddings, and the approach that we have, and the compositions that we choose, and the way we choose to use light, and the way we choose to edit, and all this kind of stuff it's just for our own amusement. And it kind of goes back to what Ben was saying earlier, in that we've got a very weird job in that we're paid and hired well before we've made a product, and then most of the day you can do whatever you want. And we were kind of talking about people who make the work that's in some ways, and you didn't say this word, but I'm going to throw it out there, in some ways selfish. Like it's kind of selfish photography, and it's not really for the couple. It's just because we like making pictures and we like making videos or whatever. So to me, those pictures will stand the test of time, but not for the couple, if that makes any sense. It'll stand the test of time for me as an artist, me as a photographer.
Yeah.
But not so much for the couple, who I think will it boil down to maybe in a lot of cases one photo in a frame.
No, absolute no. Rubbish, complete rubbish. So you're telling me that in 50 years' time, your couples won't get out their wedding album or look through their prints or their digital whatever, and they won't, in 50 years' time, they won't absolutely love to reminisce about what people are wearing, what their hair is like, how young they look, if there's babies there that are now adults, they won't be like, oh, look at Jeremy, as a baby. I don't know. It's the first name.
Terrible kid's name. Jesus
Jeremy.
Christ.
Don't know anybody called Jeremy. And also, weirdly, like things that have gone out of fashion will also then be more interesting later on. But because we photographed them, that's the interesting part of it. So it doesn't matter if they've gone out of fashion, because it's interesting to look back and it will still be a reflection of the time that you took the pictures. And it doesn't matter if it's not timeless, because it's a reflection of when they got married. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And I agree with you in a lot of ways. I think we as image makers will be more interested in those things long term than our couples who aren't really photography appreciators. I'm
not talking about things that have gone out of fashion in terms of photo style. I'm talking about things that have gone out of fashion in terms of fashion, and in terms of like the way that they've decorated their wedding, like their favors or their, I don't know, the church program or whatever. If you've got photographic evidence of all those things, and they can look back and they can go, oh shit, forgot that we even did that. Like, I think those will be valuable. Maybe not in a way that they would frame them or they would give them out, but even for a fleeting second, that person might look back at them and go like, oh shit, we gave out bubbles for our favors. How crap was that? And like, but there might be a conversation one evening when they're 60 years old and they're sat together and they'll go, oh, look at that. And those things will bring back nice memories for people. And I think that is still valuable. Even if it's for one evening, I think that's value.
And I'm happy to be convinced away from my 99% figure, which was maybe a little bit harsh. Do you think
on that, I do think that there is a culture within the industry where people feel forced to give back hundreds of images because we do everything digitally. So I do agree with you that I think a lot of those images, like I will look back through some albums and I'll be like, I swear I've got like 4 of the same picture there, just like from a slightly different angle. But it's almost like you feel as though you have to make it up to that 600, 700, 800 or whatever you give back. And yeah, no, I do agree that a lot of those are duplicates and not needed.
Where is that from? Like, how long have you been shooting? Sorry, Adam, I don't know exactly how long.
10 years, dude.
Okay, so has that kind of given 600 plus back been there for the last 10 years?
Yeah.
Because I
think it got worse about 5 years ago.
It's very, very high.
I think
get away from it, can you? You can't get away from it if that's what everybody's doing. And there's no real way to say, well, I'm only going to give you 100, even though that person's saying they're going to give you 600.
And
it comes literally down to a customer seeing the value in a numerical, an amount of images, quantity over quality, effectively, which is bizarre, really.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure happens because logic doesn't always win through in these things.
So you're now saying that if you can say that you give we give 700 images plus and we charge this much money, you're then saying that the customer will be like, oh, they give loads of images and they're expensive, therefore they must be amazing.
Well, I'm also saying that if you said, we'll only give you 100 back because we're super cool and arty-farty and you only need 100 images and we're telling you
lower your client base.
Yeah, and you were still charging the same amount as some other person.
Yeah.
Why would they?
Why would they?
Yeah. I mean, I found one thing I've found over the years, and charging a little bit more and all the rest of it, is that I don't ever get really asked. I don't say how many images I provide, and I don't ever really get asked how many images I'm going to provide either. So
yeah, we do. I get asked that a lot.
Let me rewind a tiny bit. So just back to the whole pictures that will be valuable in. I know you said 50 years, but let's go 20.
Yeah.
How important do you think it is that we provide clients with printed stuff? Because whenever you were using examples there, you were making hand gestures and talking about them flicking through. They're not going to get a USB drive out or go to the Shootproof website in 50 years, are they? And flick through. So how important is it that I'm obviously talking photos, not video. It's hard to print a video, I so believe. But how important is it that we give people printed stuff?
So
we've never done any.
Yeah, it's ironic because we don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm doing this with my hands as if I'm flicking through a book, because that's what I do with my parents' wedding album, which I love looking at. And I do think that is a nice thing to do. And as children, we had shoe boxes full of holiday pictures and birthday parties and blah, like all sorts, blah, blah, blah. My dad was always taking photographs. So we've got tons of shoeboxes, haven't we, at my parents' house? And we used to sit on the floor and just get them all out and look at them because we loved it. So that for me is valuable. And we used to absorb everything and love it. So I do think, it is important for printed pictures. And if we got married, I would want them in a book. Like I would want them printed.
I'd love to see a massive shift in it all over towards printed stuff because, I think you would inherently pick the most valuable 50 or 60 photos because of cost and everything else. And I think you would distill a wedding down to its finest points by doing that probably because, you give someone 700 images back and it's a little bit, it's not quite the same, but it's a little bit like the current thing where people are choosing to get married, even though they can only have 30 guests because they are forced to decide what exactly is valuable to them to do with their wedding. And so, if they choose to get married, they know they've got a set of things that they can and can't do. And I think the same sort of thing applies to the print stuff in that it distills it down to what are the most valuable images. And it would be amazing to see what different clients pick, because I know that you so often are kind of heavily invested in a set of pictures and then they'll tell you what their favorite ones are.
And they're just totally different all the time.
And I imagine that happens with you as well.
We do give our clients 100 prints. So I'll always print 100 for them and put them in the box that we give people at the end. And that's nice. And I like doing that. And I have seen some people have put those in sort of like cute little frames and stuff around their houses. And I love that. But when I see people using them, it's like, gives me a nice little buzz. But no one's ever asked, even though we always offer an album, no one's ever asked. And we don't really push it, in fairness. That is something that we need to do.
What I do think is that if you're, Elle, as passionate as you are about the people's long-term enjoyment of their pictures, you would find it very easy to sell albums if you started trying.
Yeah, that's true.
I genuinely haven't tried. Like, it's not something that I have forced myself to do. And it's only since really the latter part of last year when I started getting more into the NineDots stuff and watching videos and hearing you guys talk about things, I was like, oh, that is actually something I could probably push. And then obviously this year has not really happened.
No.
But yeah.
Well, I think that's my point kind of is that it's only the ones that we give them in hard copy that are going to hang around. People, in my experience, people don't tend to print their own pictures.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So that's just anyway, food for thought. Good bit of food for thought.
Thanks. I'm going to go away from this and be like, I need to make more album sales. One album sale. I've never done one. The first one.
Well, I think I had one last question now before we go, and it's potentially quite a big one, and I think maybe I prepped you for it. I can't remember. So obviously 2020 has been a bit of a write-off. If somebody told you in like 2017, let's say, let's pull a year out of thin air, that this was going to happen in 2020, what changes would you have made in? I mean, you can stick to photography and business, or if you want to go deep and meaningful, you can talk about life. But what would you have done differently? Well,
stocks in Zoom and face masks for a start.
Yeah, I would. In terms of our business, so we have the way that we used to work it when we first started was that we would literally have like an Excel spreadsheet with all of our clients on and kind of just work it that way. And it was very much like reliant on my own brain. And I was literally waiting for something to go wrong. And every single time we'd have a wedding coming up, I'd be like, have they paid? Have they done this? Like, have I sent them everything? And it was just relying on myself. So what I would have said was, knowing that we've had so much admin-y stuff going on in 2020 in terms of like moving people over and stuff, I would have made sure that I'd got like Studio Ninja or a studio management software down and understood it before this year, because we've had to learn that this year. And it's actually, although I'd heard people talk about it before and I'd kind of gone, yeah, you're making it more complicated than it needs to be. And you don't really need that for your business. And yeah, we're fine with an Excel spreadsheet. It's actually really good. And I wish that we'd had it before. I would definitely tell myself before 2020, you should probably nail this.
I would still tell you that now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Making out like you do all the back rooms.
No, you do. I know you do. But I would say Ben needs to learn the Studio Ninja stuff before 2020. Yeah, and in terms of life, I don't know if there's anything that we could have done to prepare ourselves for it in any way, shape or form.
I can't think of a single industry that has felt like it was kind of buttressed enough to have dealt with this. And there's no fat on the system for this sort of thing. Like, margins are too slim and everything else. And, you know, I just don't think anything's built for this. So I'm not sure there's much that you could do, even knowing that it was coming, really.
Yeah, I really, like, in terms of life, so in terms of business, I would have been more organised in general because we're just terribly organised at everything. But in terms of life, I just don't know. You can't, other than just stocked my house from the bottom floor to the top floor with kids' craft stuff.
Oh, I thought you were going to say bog roll just for that couple of weeks where it was.
Oh yeah, bad. That was bad.
Yeah.
Not that we were fine, by the way.
We didn't have like bowel issues. I just meant when there was no loo roll available.
No, but I mean, like, just stocked our house for stuff for Luna to do, so that we weren't just thinking on the spot for stuff I had to do.
Yeah, I suppose from a business point of view, it would have been lovely to have been able to pivot very quickly to something like, I don't know, doing animations in house, and we've got a little mini studio in the house and all that sort of stuff. But even if you were set up to do various at-home things for businesses for their marketing, a lot of businesses just weren't ready for it anyway. So even that whole process of them undertaking it would have been nigh on impossible because half of their marketing team was furloughed anyway. So, you know, I sort of feel like the supply and demand chain is all a massive fuck up anyway.
But do you think, before we finish, do you think it's obvious? What I think, looking back, is that we all thought, all of us who are involved in the wedding industry, and most people that I know who are involved in the wedding industry are in that industry exclusively. Like, they just do weddings. You know, whether it's photography, video, singers, whatever, caterers, all these people have chosen to just be wedding specialists of that thing because we all thought it was an invincible industry.
Yeah.
So nobody really has diverse businesses because we were just like, well, weddings is loads of money in it and it's always going to be there.
Yeah.
So nobody had any diversity to their business because of that. And that's what I would change. That's what I'd go back and change, is just have the business where my eggs are not all in one basket.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is a fair point.
I can literally remember saying to my parents, well, there's always going to be weddings.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like, people are always going to want to get married in some capacity. So yeah, no, absolutely, that's totally valid.
Yeah, pandemics were a fictional thing as far as I was concerned. Good times. It's been lovely to speak to you.
Good times.
Pandemic times. Yeah. And thanks for being honest about your opinions about stuff and chatting with me. And good luck with everything. And
thanks, you too. See you round.
Ciao.
Thanks again to the brilliant Elle Co and Ben Winnington of Winnington & Co. To see more of their work, head over to winningtonco.com or search them up on Instagram. You can listen to previous episodes of the DotCast anywhere you normally listen to podcasts. And to find out more about NineDots or to become a member and support our cause for a more community-led industry, head over to nine-dots.co. See you on the next one.